The blue lights of Titan Station flickered across the conference room as dozens of alien species gathered for the annual medical symposium. Dr. Relath adjusted his four thin arms and activated the holographic display showing a human skeleton. The Netherian scientist's elongated body swayed slightly in the station's artificial gravity as he began his presentation. Fellow researchers, today we examine the most poorly designed species to ever achieve spaceflight, Relath announced, his voice carrying the musical tone typical of his people. Behold the human form. The rotating skeleton drew murmurs from the audience. Commander Thex of the Aquatic Confederation let his gill slits flutter in what passed for laughter among his kind. His blue-scaled body remained perfectly still in the water-filled mobility suit that allowed him to attend surface meetings. Notice the excessive bone density, Relath continued, highlighting sections of the display. These structures are 3 times heavier than necessary for any civilized environment. Their spine alone could support the weight of a small vehicle. Dr. Quinn, representing the silicon-based hegemony, shifted his crystalline form and spoke in electronic tones. The muscle redundancy is equally absurd. They possess backup systems for backup systems. What evolutionary pressure could possibly justify such waste? In the back corner, Dr. Voss sat quietly taking notes on his datapad. The human scientist appeared relaxed, despite being the only representative of his species in a room full of critics. His simple gray uniform contrasted sharply with the elaborate environmental suits worn by most other attendees. The cardiovascular system is perhaps the most telling evidence of their world's hostility, Relath said, zooming in on the human heart. A 4-chambered pump designed to force blood through a body fighting constant crushing pressure. Most species require only 2 chambers at most. A delegate from the gaseous collective, existing as a contained cloud of particles, vibrated with what might have been amusement. Their homeworld must be a nightmare of oppressive force? How do they even manage to stand upright? That brings us to their most ridiculous adaptation, Relath replied, switching to a full-body scan. Their entire skeletal system is designed as if they expect to carry enormous burdens constantly. Look at these leg bones, reinforced to support not just their body weight but several times that amount. The room filled with various sounds of alien laughter. Clicking, humming, and electronic chirping echoed off the walls as species after species found humor in humanity's apparent over-engineering. Commander Thex raised a fin to speak. I've studied their military reports. Even their soldiers struggle with the weight of their equipment. They actually train by carrying heavy objects to build strength. It's like they're fighting their own biology? Because they are, Dr. Quinn added. No efficient species would need to constantly exercise to maintain basic functionality. They're trapped in bodies designed for a world that actively tries to kill them. Dr. Voss looked up from his notes and smiled slightly. Several aliens noticed his expression and interpreted it as embarrassment at his species' obvious flaws. The respiratory system is equally telling, Relath continued. Dense atmosphere processing, reinforced chest cavity, and lung capacity that suggests they're constantly fighting to breathe. Compare this to the elegant simplicity of Netherian physiology. He displayed his own species' anatomy alongside the human form. The Netherian body appeared graceful and efficient, with hollow bones and minimal muscle mass perfectly adapted to their low-gravity homeworld. We achieved spaceflight 2,000 years before humans even discovered fire, Relath said proudly. Our bodies are designed for intelligence and efficiency, not brute force. A researcher from the methane worlds spoke up, her voice bubbling through her environmental suit. Perhaps their aggression stems from living in constant pain. Their joints must ache constantly under such pressure. That would explain their violent history, Commander Thex agreed. A species in permanent discomfort would naturally develop aggressive tendencies. Dr. Voss continued taking notes, occasionally nodding as if agreeing with the assessments. His calm demeanor only seemed to encourage more criticism. The most wasteful aspect is their healing system, Relath said, bringing up medical scans. They can actually regenerate bone tissue, repair torn muscles, and even regrow certain organs. What species needs such extreme recovery mechanisms unless they're constantly being damaged? It's almost as if they evolved expecting regular injury. Dr. Quinn observed. Their entire biology screams of a species under constant physical stress. The symposium continued for another hour, with each species contributing their own observations about humanity's apparent biological failures. The ethereal collective noted the inefficiency of human sleep cycles. The crystalline empire mocked their need for constant hydration. The void dwellers found their light sensitivity particularly amusing. In conclusion, Relath said as the presentation wound down, humans represent what happens when evolution occurs under the worst possible conditions. They're a species of biological extremes overbuilt for any reasonable environment. The applause was enthusiastic, with each species expressing approval in their own way. Dr. Voss closed his datapad and stood to leave, still wearing that same slight smile. "Dr. Voss," Relath called out as the human reached the door. "Would you care to comment on our findings?" The human turned back to face the room full of expectant faces, fins, crystals, and energy fields. "Very thorough research, Dr. Relath. You've captured many interesting details about human physiology. And what's your professional opinion of our conclusions?" Commander Thex asked, his gill slits fluttering with curiosity. Dr. Voss paused for a moment, glancing around the room at the various life support systems, mobility aids, and environmental suits that allowed these species to function outside their homeworlds. "I think you'll find our upcoming cultural exchange program quite educational." With that, he left the conference room, leaving behind a group of scientists convinced they had just witnessed the embarrassment of an inferior species. None of them noticed the small recording device he had placed on the conference table, or the slight spring in his step as he walked down the corridor. The next day, formal invitations would be sent to every species represented at the symposium. Earth's diplomatic corps was eager to host visitors and provide them with first-hand experience of humanity's homeworld. After all, there was no better way to understand human physiology than to experience the environment that had shaped it. Dr. Relath was among the first to accept the invitation, confident that studying humans in their natural habitat would provide even more evidence of their biological inadequacy. He had no idea that he was about to discover the true meaning of evolutionary pressure. Ambassador Walsh stood before the massive viewing screen in the Galactic Council chambers, her hands clasped behind her back as she addressed the assembled representatives. The vast chamber hummed with the sounds of various life support systems, keeping dozens of alien species comfortable in the shared environment. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation networks, "humanity extends a formal invitation to all member species of the Galactic Council to participate in a cultural exchange program on Earth." The announcement created immediate stirring among the assembled aliens. Dr. Relath, still basking in the success of his recent presentation, leaned forward with interest. His elongated Netherian form required constant adjustment to remain comfortable. "In the chamber's artificial gravity, we have prepared facilities specifically designed to accommodate the needs of all Council species," Walsh continued. "Advanced medical support, customized environmental controls, and the finest gravity compensation technology available." Commander Thex shifted in his aquatic suit, creating small bubbles that rose to the surface of his mobile water tank. "Ambassador Walsh, surely you understand the risks involved. Your world's gravitational field is nearly 3 times what most species consider safe." "Indeed," Walsh replied with a smile. "That's precisely why this exchange will be so valuable. You've studied our physiology from scientific data and recordings. Now you can observe us in our natural environment." The ethereal collective's representative, a shifting mass of energy contained within a specialized field generator, pulsed with curiosity. What exactly would this exchange involve? Surely you don't expect us to engage in your planet's crushing environment without protection. "Of course not," Walsh assured them. "We've prepared state-of-the-art facilities with full environmental controls. You'll be able to observe human society while remaining completely safe and comfortable. Dr. Quinn's crystalline form reflected the chamber's lights as he processed the information. This could provide unprecedented research opportunities. Direct observation of human behavior in their native environment. Exactly, Walsh said, her expression brightening. We're particularly interested in hosting members of the scientific community. Your recent symposium on human physiology has generated considerable interest among our researchers. Dr. Relath felt a surge of pride at the mention of his presentation. Speaking as someone who has extensively studied human biology, I find this proposal fascinating. The opportunity to observe such primitive adaptations in their natural setting would be invaluable. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The idea of studying humans like specimens in their own habitat appealed to many of the assembled scientists. We would be honored to host Dr. Relath, Walsh said, nodding toward the Netherian scientist. His work on comparative physiology would add great value to the exchange. The methane world's delegate bubbled with enthusiasm. My people have long wondered how carbon-based life forms survive in such hostile conditions. This could answer many theoretical questions. Perfect, Walsh replied. We've prepared specialized atmospheric chambers for methane-breathing species. Your comfort and safety are our primary concerns? Over the next hour, the discussion turned to logistics. The Void Dwellers required darkness generators to protect them from Earth's star. The gaseous collective needed containment fields that could function in standard atmosphere. The Aquatic Confederation demanded temperature-controlled water systems. We have solutions for every requirement, Walsh assured them. Our engineers have been working for months to ensure this exchange is successful, Commander Thex raised a fin skeptically. What do humans hope to gain from this arrangement? Surely the scientific value is one-sided. Walsh's smile widened slightly. We're eager to learn from your reactions to our world. Your perspectives on human society and physiology will help us understand ourselves better. The explanation seemed reasonable to most delegates. After all, primitive species often sought validation from their more advanced neighbors. I volunteered to participate, Dr. Relath announced. Someone needs to conduct proper xenobiological observations, and I refuse to let this opportunity pass. As do I, added Dr. Quinn. The silicon-based hegemony will provide full documentation of human environmental adaptations. Within hours, 8 different species had committed to the exchange program. Each brought their own scientific equipment and research objectives, all centered on studying humanity in its natural habitat. The preparations took 3 weeks. Massive cargo ships transported environmental control systems, gravity compensation, equipment, and medical monitoring devices to Earth. The visiting scientists reviewed every detail of human physiology. Confident in their understanding of what they would observe, Dr. Relath spent his time preparing observation protocols and recording equipment. His elongated form moved efficiently through the low-gravity corridors of his ship, each movement precisely calculated to conserve energy. This will be groundbreaking research, he told his assistants. We'll finally see how these over-engineered creatures actually function in their oppressive environment. Commander Thex coordinated with his military advisors studying human combat capabilities and physical limitations. Their soldiers must be in constant distress, he observed, fighting while carrying such heavy equipment and crushing gravity. Dr. Quinn compiled databases of human physical achievements, noting what he considered obvious signs of biological strain. Their athletes push their bodies to failure regularly. It's clearly a species-wide adaptation to constant physical stress. None of the visiting scientists questioned their fundamental assumptions about human biology. The evidence seemed overwhelming that humanity was a species trapped by its own evolutionary mistakes. As the transport ships approached Earth's solar system, the delegation prepared for what they expected to be a study in biological inefficiency. Their gravity compensation systems hummed at full power, life support systems worked overtime, and medical monitoring equipment tracked every vital sign. Remember, Dr. Relath addressed the group over the communication network, we're observing A species that has somehow achieved spaceflight despite being poorly adapted to its own environment. Document everything. The blue-green planet grew larger in their viewing screens as they descended toward humanity's homeworld. Each alien scientist felt the increasing pull of Earth gravity even through their advanced protective systems. Remarkable, whispered the ethereal collective's representative. The gravitational field is crushing our compensation systems already, and we haven't even landed. This explains so much about human physiology, Dr. Quinn observed. They evolved in a gravity, well, so deep that escape should have been impossible. Ambassador Walsh's final message crackled through their communication systems as they entered Earth's atmosphere. Welcome to Earth, honored guests. We hope you find your visit enlightening. The irony of her words would only become apparent much later, after the visiting scientists discovered that their carefully prepared theories about human biology were about to be crushed as thoroughly as their own bodies were being compressed by Earth's relentless gravitational embrace. The transport ship shuddered as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. Each kilometer of altitude lost adding to the crushing weight pressing down on the alien delegation. Dr. Relath clutched the armrests of his specialized chair as his gravity compensation harness whined at maximum power. Around him, the other visiting scientists struggled with their own life support systems as the planet's relentless pull tried to drag them down. Emergency power to all gravity compensators, announced the ship's automated systems in a dozen different languages. Atmospheric pressure reaching critical levels for non-terrestrial life forms. Commander Thex's aquatic suit began displaying warning lights as the water inside compressed under the increasing pressure. His gill slits worked frantically to process the thickening fluid while his mobility systems fought to keep him upright. This is incredible, he gasped. We're still 50 kilometers above the surface and the gravitational stress is already overwhelming our systems. Dr. Quinn's crystalline form had taken on a dull appearance as his internal structure compressed under the mounting pressure. No wonder humans appear so dense. This environment would crush any reasonable life form. The spaceport at Geneva appeared below them like a fortress built to withstand constant siege. Massive concrete structures rose from the ground, their thick walls designed to support weights that would collapse buildings on any civilized world. Landing sequence initiated, the ship's computer announced. All passengers remain in protective positions until full environmental support is established. The ship touched down with a heavy thud that sent vibrations through every alien body. Aboard, several delegates required immediate medical attention as their life support systems struggled to compensate for the planet's crushing embrace. Dr. Relath attempted to stand and immediately collapsed back into his chair. Impossible, he wheezed. How can any species function under such conditions? Emergency medical teams rushed aboard the ship, but the aliens were shocked to see that these first responders were entirely human. Men and women in simple uniforms moved with fluid grace through the ship's corridors, carrying equipment that would have required mechanical assistance on any other world. Dr. Relath, I presume, said a cheerful voice from the boarding ramp. Dr. Voss jogged up the steep incline without any apparent effort, wearing nothing more than a light jumpsuit and carrying a heavy medical kit. Welcome to Earth. The Netherian. Scientists stared in disbelief as the human moved around the ship's interior with casual efficiency. Your medical kit alone must weigh 30 kilograms. How are you even standing? It's actually closer to 40, Dr. Voss replied, hefting the equipment with one hand. Standard emergency medical supplies. Nothing too heavy? The visiting scientists watched in stunned silence as human technicians began installing additional life support systems throughout the ship. Each worker carried tools and equipment that would have required powered assistance for any other species, yet they moved as if the crushing gravity meant nothing. The structural supports for your environmental systems are quite impressive, Dr. Voss commented, examining the alien technology. Very elegant engineering for low-gravity environments. Commander Thex's voice was strained as he spoke through his suit's communication system. These supports are rated for 15 times standard gravity. Your world is testing them to their limits. Really? Dr. Voss looked surprised. I suppose we take our environment for granted. Would you like to see the facilities we've prepared for your stay? The transfer to the surface facilities required a convoy of specialized vehicles, each one built like an armored transport to handle the crushing conditions. The alien delegates were carefully moved from their ship to ground-based life support systems while human workers handled the logistics with remarkable efficiency. Dr. Quinn observed the humans through his containment field, noting how they moved and interacted despite the oppressive environment. They're compensating for the gravity so well that they appear almost normal. The evolutionary pressure must have been extraordinary. The research facility built for the delegation was a marvel of engineering, with walls thick enough to withstand the constant downward pressure and floors designed to support the weight of multiple species plus their environmental systems. Yet, human staff moved through the corridors as if they were walking through air. Your accommodations are on the ground level, Dr. Voss explained as he led them through the facility. We avoided stairs to minimize stress on your gravity compensation systems. The thoughtfulness would have been touching if not for the casual way he mentioned it. Stairs were apparently so routine for humans that they had to consciously remember other species might find them challenging. The observation deck overlooks our main courtyard, Dr. Voss continued, gesturing toward a massive window. You'll have an excellent view of daily human activities. Through the reinforced glass, the aliens could see humans going about their normal routines. Workers carried equipment across the courtyard, maintenance staff climbed ladders to service overhead systems, and administrative personnel walked between buildings with stacks of physical documents. They're all moving so efficiently, whispered the ethereal collective's representative. It's as if the gravity doesn't affect them at all. Because it doesn't, Dr. Voss said matter-of-factly. This is just normal atmospheric pressure and standard gravity for us. Would you like to observe our cafeteria during lunch hour? The request was met with nervous agreement from the delegation. They had come to study human limitations in their natural environment, but so far they had only witnessed casual competence. In conditions that were pushing their own technology to its breaking point, the cafeteria observation proved even more disturbing. Human workers carried loaded trays, moved chairs, and navigated crowded spaces with an ease that defied the aliens' understanding of physics. Children accompanied their parents, playing games that involved running and jumping with energy that should have been impossible in such crushing conditions. The young ones are particularly active, Dr. Relath observed, his voice weak from the strain of simply existing in Earth's environment. Do they not understand the danger? Danger? Dr. Voss looked confused. They're just playing. Would you like to see them more closely? The suggestion was politely declined. The visiting scientists were beginning to realize that their fundamental assumptions about human biology might be incorrect, but they were not yet ready to confront the full implications of what they were witnessing. As the day wore on, more aliens required medical attention despite remaining in their protective systems. The humans caring for them showed no signs of fatigue after hours of working in conditions that would have killed most galactic species within minutes. Your people seem remarkably adapted to this environment, Commander Thex managed to say as human medical staff checked his life support systems. We should hope so, replied the technician with a smile. We've been here for about 300,000 years. You tend to get used to a place after that long. The casual reference to evolutionary timescales sent chills through the delegation. They were beginning to understand that they were not observing a species struggling against its environment, but rather a species that had been forged by that environment into something far more capable than they had ever imagined. That evening, as the alien scientists huddled in their environmental chambers, they began to reconsider their theories about human physiology. The evidence was mounting that humanity was not over-engineered for their world, but rather perfectly adapted to it. And if that was true, then everything they thought they knew about human limitations was about to be proven catastrophically wrong. The gymnasium doors slid open with a mechanical hiss, revealing a space that looked like an alien torture chamber to the visiting scientists. Dr. Relath's mobility chair hummed as it compensated for the crushing gravity, while his organic form trembled with the effort of simply staying conscious in Earth's oppressive environment. "Welcome to the Geneva Community Recreation Center," Dr. Voss announced cheerfully, gesturing toward the cavernous interior. "We thought you might enjoy observing some typical human leisure activities." The facility stretched out before them like a warehouse of impossibilities. Massive metal structures dominated the space, with bars, weights, and machines that would have been used for heavy construction on any civilized world. Yet humans moved between these instruments with casual familiarity, as if they were ordinary furniture. Commander Thex's aquatic suit registered dangerous pressure spikes as he observed the scene. These devices appear to be designed for punishment rather than recreation. What possible purpose could they serve? "Exercise equipment," Dr. Voss explained. "Humans use these to maintain physical fitness and strength. Would you like to observe a typical workout session?" The alien delegation exchanged glances of horror and fascination. They had come to study human limitations, but so far had only witnessed capabilities that defied their understanding of biology. A human teenager approached one of the metal contraptions, casually loading it with circular weights, Dr. Quinn's crystalline. Sensors registered the mass of each disc as roughly equivalent to a small vehicle. The young human positioned himself beneath the loaded bar and lifted it with fluid motion. "Impossible," Dr. Quinn whispered, his form flickering with disbelief. "That mass should crush his skeletal structure instantly." The teenager continued his routine, raising and lowering the enormous weight with steady rhythm. His breathing remained controlled, his movements precise. What should have been a feat of mechanical engineering was being performed by biological muscle and bone. "The structural integrity of his frame must be incredible," Dr. Relath observed from his chair, his voice weak with exhaustion. "The load-bearing capacity alone exceeds our theoretical maximums for organic materials." An elderly human woman approached a different machine, one that appeared designed for locomotion under stress. She began moving at a pace that would have been impossible for most galactic species even in their home environments, her aged form displaying coordination and endurance that defied every biological principle the aliens understood. "She's maintaining that velocity for an extended period," Commander Thex noted, his gill slits working frantically to process the compressed atmosphere. "The cardiovascular demands should be killing her." "Mrs. Patterson runs 5 kilometers every morning," Dr. Voss mentioned casually. "She's been doing it for 30 years. Says it helps her stay young." The concept of voluntarily subjecting oneself to such physical stress as a health measure was beyond the aliens' comprehension. On their worlds, such activity would be considered attempted suicide. A group of humans began engaging in what appeared to be ritualized combat, moving with speed and precision that registered as blur-level velocities on the aliens' recording equipment. They struck targets with enough force to dent metal, their bodies serving as biological weapons in the crushing environment. "The kinetic energy transfer is extraordinary," Dr. Quinn observed, his sensors struggling to track the rapid movements. "They're generating impact forces that would shatter our protective systems." "That's just basic martial arts training," Dr. Voss replied. "Many humans practice combat sports for fitness and self-defense. Would you like to see our swimming facilities?" The suggestion was met with nervous silence. The aliens were beginning to understand that every human activity represented a display of physical capability that exceeded their own species' maximums. The swimming area proved even more disturbing. Humans moved through water with the efficiency of dedicated aquatic species, their bodies cutting through the liquid with minimal resistance. They performed acrobatic maneuvers that would have been impossible for most aliens even in zero gravity. "The hydrodynamic optimization is remarkable," Commander Thex admitted, his own aquatic nature giving him unique insight into the display. "They're more efficient swimmers than most species that evolved in water." A human instructor approached the observation area, dripping wet but showing no signs of fatigue after an hour of intensive swimming. Are your guests interested in water activities? We have adaptive equipment for different physiologies. The offer was politely declined. The visiting scientists were struggling to remain conscious in their protected environment, while this human had just completed physical activities that would have been impossible for most galactic species. The real shock came during the emergency. Grill. A simulated accident required evacuation of the facility, and the aliens watched in stunned silence as human staff moved with coordinated efficiency. They carried equipment, assisted disabled individuals, and maintained perfect organization under stress. The response time is incredible, Dr. Relath observed as human personnel lifted his entire mobility chair system without apparent effort. They're moving with precision despite the crushing environmental conditions. The human carrying him, a woman who appeared to be in her 40s, navigated obstacles and doorways while supporting his weight plus his life support equipment. Her breathing remained steady, her movements fluid. How is this possible? Dr. Relath asked her directly. The energy expenditure alone should be overwhelming your biological systems. It's just part of the job, she replied without strain. Emergency response requires physical fitness. We train for these situations regularly. The concept of training to become stronger rather than simply adapting to limitations was revolutionary to the alien mindset. Their species had achieved technological solutions to physical challenges, while humans had apparently achieved biological solutions. As the day continued, the visiting scientists documented feat after feat of human physical capability. Children playing games that involved rapid acceleration and deceleration, elderly individuals maintaining balance and coordination that exceeded young adults of other species, and workers performing manual labor that would have required heavy machinery on any other world. They're not struggling, Commander Thex finally admitted as human medical staff checked his life support systems. They're thriving. This environment isn't limiting them at all. Should it be? Asked the human technician. Genuinely curious. I mean, this is just normal gravity and atmosphere for us. Do you find it challenging? The question was asked with such innocent sincerity that it took the aliens several moments to process the implications. From the human perspective, they were the ones struggling with environmental conditions that should have been routine. Dr. Quinn's crystalline form pulsed with realization. We've been observing this incorrectly. They're not adapted to survive in this environment. They're adapted to excel in it. The gymnasium visit ended with the alien delegation in a state of profound reconsideration. Their theories about human physical limitations had been systematically dismantled by simple observation of routine human activities. Tomorrow we'll visit some of our construction sites, Dr. Voss mentioned as they prepared to return to their protected facility. I think you'll find human engineering capabilities quite interesting. The suggestion filled the aliens with equal parts dread and fascination. If humans could casually perform superhuman feats during leisure time, what would they be capable of when actually working? As they retreated to their environmental chambers, the visiting scientists began to understand that they had not come to study a species limited by its biology, but rather to witness the product of evolutionary pressures that had created something far more capable than they had ever imagined possible. The crushing gravity of Earth had not weakened humanity. It had forged them into living weapons, and the aliens were only beginning to comprehend what that truly meant. The morning sun cast long shadows across the construction site as the alien delegation observed from their climate-controlled observation platform. 3 members of the original 8-person scientific team had already requested emergency evacuation, unable to cope with Earth's crushing environment despite their advanced life support systems. Dr. Relath sat motionless in his powered mobility chair, his Netherian form barely maintaining consciousness as he watched human workers move massive steel beams into position. The beams alone weighed more than most alien spacecraft, yet the humans handled them with hand tools and coordinated teamwork. The structural engineering is beyond our comprehension, he whispered to Dr. Voss, who stood beside the observation platform without any visible protective equipment. Those support columns could hold up our entire capital city. They need to, Dr. Voss replied matter-of-factly. This is just a standard hospital expansion. The building codes here require structures that can withstand significant stress. Commander Thex's aquatic suit registered dangerous pressure fluctuations as he watched a human operator control a massive crane. The precision required to manipulate such weights in this gravitational field should be impossible for biological reflexes. Tom's been running cranes for 20 years, Dr. Voss mentioned casually. He could thread a needle with that machine if you asked him to. The casual confidence in human capabilities was becoming a recurring theme that disturbed the alien observers. Every impossible feat was dismissed as routine. Every display of superhuman ability treated as normal daily activity. Dr. Quinn's crystalline form had dimmed significantly since his arrival on Earth, his structure compressed by the relentless gravitational pressure. The tool usage is particularly fascinating. They're employing handheld implements that would require powered assistance on any civilized world. A human worker approached the construction site carrying a toolkit that registered as dangerously heavy on the alien sensors. She moved with the fluid grace that all humans seem to possess in their natural environment, her stride steady despite the crushing conditions. That's Lisa from the electrical team, Dr. Voss explained. She's installing the power systems for the new wing. Would you like to observe the process? The suggestion was met with nervous agreement. The aliens had watched humans perform impossible feats for days, but the systematic nature of their work was perhaps most disturbing of all. Lisa began her installation with tools that would have been considered heavy machinery on most worlds. She lifted components, manipulated wiring, and positioned equipment with casual efficiency. Her movements were precise, controlled, and apparently effortless. The dexterity combined with strength is remarkable, Dr. Relath observed. She's performing delicate work while handling massive components simultaneously. Standard electrical installation, Dr. Voss noted. Lisa's actually on the smaller side for construction workers. Wait until you see the Foundation team. The Foundation crew arrived. Like a force of nature, each human carrying equipment that would have crushed most galactic species. They moved with coordinated precision, their bodies functioning as biological machines perfectly adapted to their crushing environment. They're not even wearing protective gear, Commander Thex managed to say through his failing life support. Systems. The environmental hazards alone should be lethal. What hazards? Dr. Voss looked genuinely confused. This is just standard construction work. The safety protocols are mainly for preventing accidents with machinery. The concept that Earth's natural environment was not considered hazardous to its inhabitants was revolutionary to the alien understanding. They had assumed humans were constantly fighting for survival, but the evidence suggested they had achieved perfect adaptation instead. A group of human children appeared at the construction site's edge, apparently on their way to a nearby school. They moved with the same casual efficiency as the adult workers, their young bodies displaying coordination and strength that exceeded adult capabilities of most galactic species. The juveniles are particularly remarkable, Dr. Quinn observed, his sensors tracking their movements. They're achieving performance metrics that would be impossible for our fully developed adults. Kids have a lot of energy, Dr. Voss replied, with a smile. They're always running around, playing games, testing their limits. It's how they grow up strong. The idea that strength was developed through activity rather than simply accepted as a biological constant was paradigm-shifting for the alien observers. Their species had technological solutions for physical challenges, while humans had apparently developed biological solutions. Dr. Voss, Dr. Relath said weakly, his voice barely audible through his chair's communication system. We need to discuss our findings. Our original assessment of human physiology appears to have been incorrect. In what way? Dr. Voss asked, though his slight smile suggested he already knew the answer. We believed your species was over-engineered for your environment. Commander Thex admitted, his gill slits working frantically to process the compressed atmosphere. We thought you were trapped by evolutionary mistakes. And now? Dr. Voss prompted gently. Dr. Quinn's crystalline form pulsed with realization. Now we understand that you're not over-engineered at all. You're perfectly adapted. Your world didn't create biological failures, it created biological perfection. The admission hung in the air like a revelation. The alien scientists who had come to study human limitations had instead discovered human supremacy in the most fundamental aspect of existence, the ability to thrive in their natural environment. Your gravity didn't trap you, Dr. Relath continued, his scientific training forcing him to acknowledge the evidence. It forged you. Every aspect of your physiology that we mocked as excessive is actually precise adaptation to conditions that would kill most galactic species. We've been looking at this backwards, Commander Thex added. You're not poorly adapted to your world. We're poorly adapted to yours, Dr. Voss nodded slowly. Earth has been described as a death world by most galactic species. High gravity, dense atmosphere, extreme weather, and active geology. But it's not a death world to us. It's home. The implications were staggering. If humans were perfectly adapted to what other species considered uninhabitable conditions, then every other environment in the galaxy was effectively a low-gravity playground for human physiology. Your military capabilities, Commander Thex, said suddenly, his voice filled with new understanding. We analyzed your combat footage and assumed your soldiers were struggling under the weight of their equipment. Our standard infantry loadout is about 40 kilograms, Dr. Voss confirmed. That's considered light by historical standards. The alien delegation exchanged glances of dawning horror. What they had interpreted as humans struggling with excessive equipment was actually humans operating at a fraction of their capabilities. The athletic competitions we observed, Dr. Quinn added, his crystalline structure flickering with nervous energy. Those weren't demonstrations of human limits. Those were demonstrations of human recreation. Sports are meant to be challenging, Dr. Voss agreed. But they're also meant to be fun. Humans enjoy testing themselves against physical obstacles. Dr. Relath's mobility chair registered critical power levels as his life support systems strained to keep him functional. We need to return to our facilities. This information requires immediate transmission to our respective governments. The journey back to the research facility was conducted in stunned silence. Each alien scientist grappled with the revolutionary, understanding that humanity was not a species limited by their biology, but rather a species whose biology made them universally superior in any physical environment. The economic implications alone are extraordinary, Dr. Quinn said as they reached the safety of their environmental chambers. Human laborers could perform tasks that require heavy machinery for other species. The military implications are even more significant, Commander Thex added grimly. A human soldier in low-gravity conditions would be virtually unstoppable. Dr. Relath was already composing his report to the Netherian Science Council. We must recommend immediate reclassification of human physiology. They are not a standard carbon-based life form. They are a high-durability species forged by extreme environmental pressures. The final day of the cultural exchange was spent in hasty preparation for departure. Half the original delegation had already left Earth, unable to cope with conditions that humans considered routine. Those who remained were eager to return to environments their bodies could actually handle. We owe you an apology, Dr. Relath told Dr. Voss as the alien delegation prepared to leave. Our assessment of your species was based on fundamental misunderstanding. No apology necessary, Dr. Voss replied. Scientific inquiry requires testing hypotheses. You tested yours and found new data? The new data completely invalidates our previous conclusions, Commander Thex said. Humans are not poorly adapted specimens. You are the most physically capable species in known space. Dr. Quinn's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been embarrassment. We mocked your redundant biological systems without understanding that redundancy equals resilience. We criticized your dense bone structure without realizing it provides unbreakable framework. We laughed at your excessive muscle mass without comprehending it grants unlimited power. Your world is not a death world, Dr. Relath concluded. It is a forge, and you are what emerges from that forge after millions of years of refinement. The transport ships launched from Earth's surface with their alien passengers humbled and shaken. They had come expecting to study a species limited by poor evolutionary choices, but instead discovered a species that had been perfected by evolutionary pressures beyond imagination. The medical symposium held 3 months later was a very different affair. Dr. Relath stood before the same holographic display showing human anatomy, but his presentation carried a warning rather than mockery. Fellow researchers, he began, his voice heavy with new understanding. I must retract my previous assessment of human physiology. We were not observing evolutionary failure. We were observing evolutionary perfection. The audience sat in stunned silence as he continued. Humans are not over-engineered for their environment. Every other species in this room is under-engineered for theirs. They have achieved perfect adaptation to conditions that would instantly kill most galactic life forms. Commander Thex added his own observations. Their planet did not trap them. With crushing gravity, it trained them. Every human is essentially a biological weapon forged by 3 billion years of environmental pressure. The recommendations were unanimous and immediate. Humanity would be reclassified as a high-durability species. Their homeworld would be redesignated from marginal habitat to extreme training environment. And most importantly, any future interactions with humans would be conducted with full understanding of their true capabilities. We laughed at their physiology, Dr. Quinn concluded his portion of the report. We thought we were observing primitives trapped by their own biology. Instead, we were observing the most successful adaptation in galactic history. The final entry in the official record was written by Dr. Relath himself, when humans requested to join galactic civilization. We assumed they would be junior partners requiring protection and assistance. We now understand that we are the ones who may require protection. Not from human hostility, but from our own inadequacy in environments they consider routine. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about assumptions and evolutionary pressure. When you evolve on a world that constantly tries to crush you, you do not become weak. You become unbreakable. And when unbreakable beings encounter the rest of the universe, every other environment becomes a playground where they can demonstrate capabilities that others can only dream of achieving. Humanity had not just survived their death world. They had conquered it so completely that they made survival look effortless. And that, the alien scientists finally understood, was the most terrifying thing of all.